Now I just want to show you some examples, a variety of examples of biophilic design, sort of random, just so you can get a sense of the variety that's possible. Beginning with Chinese gardens. This is the Chinese garden in Portland, and I don't know if you know this, but the Chinese garden in Portland is, well, at least in my opinion, the finest example of a Chinese scholar's garden anywhere in North America. And I visited a number of them in both the US and Canada. This one is superb. I'm trying not to go off on a tangent because there's a lot to say about Chinese gardens and how they accomplish what they accomplish. They are really fascinating. Send me a note sometime if you would like to talk about them. They are really interesting to study. Here are a couple in China. Suzhou is the home of Chinese scholars' gardens. Here's one in Northern California. Fay Jones was the architect who was commissioned to do a chapel, and what he did was build a chapel that responds to the towering trees in the forest there. He then went on to do this visitor center pavilion in Mississippi at the Crosby Arboretum. You're probably familiar with Falling Water, this house in the upper left corner, designed by the architect Frank Lloyd Wright. This was quite groundbreaking when he proposed to his clients that he build their house out over a stream. Since that time, of course, it's become very famous. Here on the right is an architect who was kind of responding to Frank Lloyd Wright's design ideas and echoing them. You can also find biophilic echoes indoors. In the Art Nouveau period, in the late 19th century, you find many patterns indoors and out. Here's the Chicago Stock Exchange. Here's a hotel in Belgium. This is classic Art Nouveau stuff, so you kind of feel like you're in a jungle. In the early 20th century, the great Spanish architect Gaudi was really groundbreaking in designing buildings that were more like living, growing things than they were square buildings. Here's the famous Sagrada Familia Cathedral, which is still not finished. Here's an apartment building. See, it looks like it just grew out of the woods. Here's some chimney pots and some park railings. You can see I really like Gaudi. Here's an interior bringing plants and wood materials indoors. In Berlin, bringing stone and even water indoors. We've looked at this law court building from the outside once before when we were comparing it with the Boston City Hall Plaza. This courthouse building was built in the mid-1970s during that era when concrete and new brutalism was popular. But they were able to make this a biophilic space that is really quite pleasant and enriching to be in. Then here is Riverbend Hospital in Eugene. And you will notice that this building responds to bioregionalism in the Willamette Valley. So you see stone. This is sandstone, kind of like Eugene Formation sandstone. Wood, wrought iron railings. I grant you that ginkgo leaves are not native to the Willamette Valley, but they are beautiful. Wood on the floors, stone on the steps. You just notice that there are natural materials everywhere, intentionally. Even in the carpeting pattern down here, it looks like you're walking on the floor of the woods. And here are some views from various patient rooms. I took these when they had their open house before the hospital opened, and they let people walk around wherever they wanted through various rooms, and so I tried to get some examples of shots from different patient rooms. Here's a tower in Singapore. I think this has not been built yet. And here's the Oregon Sustainability Center, which is now on hold. It's was supposed to be in downtown Portland, a collaboration of Portland State University and the city of Portland. And then some thoughts about letting the outdoors and the indoors unify. Here's a residential design. So this is a house that has various methods of connecting the indoors with the outdoors, so they all kind of flow together. I don't know if you've ever been to Salishan on the Oregon coast near Lincoln City. It's a beautiful place, just a beautiful place. And it looks like, if you walk around there, it looks like, oh, they just carved little niches out of the forest and plunked little hotel rooms in there, and then plunked a golf course in there. Actually, this place began as a flat, empty lot. It was designed by one of my favorite landscape architects, Barbara Feely, the first woman landscape architect in Oregon. And she started with a blank lot and did this with it. And it is biophilic, and people love to go there. Thinking about a few city spaces. Here's a small city space. This is an office building in the Railroad District in Ashland in southern Oregon. A fairly new office building, and the architect designed just a simple arbor to support some grapevines. It's got grapes, it's got plants planted around the bottom. There's a bench underneath. And this is designed to be a place where office workers can come out and have a coffee break or take a rest, have some lunch. It's quite pleasant. This is the bus station for LTD on South A Street in Springfield. You may have been here. And these are stormwater bioswales. This is designed to handle the stormwater runoff from these parking lots. But look how beautiful it is. It's got, and speaking of bioregionalism, there's some Eugene basalt, some river rock, some native sedges and rushes. That might be an alder tree. I'm not sure what that is. But this is a very restorative place to sit and wait for the bus. This alley is in Vancouver, British Columbia, and this is a low-income housing neighborhood. So there are some old houses, Queen Anne-style houses that were about to be torn down, and an affordable housing nonprofit petitioned the city and asked if they wouldn't let this nonprofit take over these dilapidated buildings. And not only that, they got dispensation from the city to remove part of the paving from the alley. So the city has a requirement that you have to have a certain number of parking spaces on every alley. And they let this nonprofit not have those parking spaces. And so, look at this. All along the alley, the people who live in this low-income housing have vegetable gardens and fruit trees and grape arbors and benches to sit on. And you can't see it here, but flowing water that makes a lovely sound. An upscale version is up in the Pearl District in Portland. Also biophilic, also lovely places to walk and to sit. And like Mole Hill in Vancouver, the Pearl District in Portland has repurposed some of the former parking spaces and places to drive. Here's a place in downtown Portland. This is the Armory, and I think Powell's Books is off to our right. So one of the things the city planners have done is just put little spots of plants and benches to sit on. So while you're downtown, you can sit and look at trees. There are a number of stormwater features in here as well. I took a picture of this parking lot just because this is in the Old Town district, so it's, it's kind of, some of the buildings are dilapidated. Here you can see the building isn't even there anymore, and it's a parking lot, for heaven's sake. So you'd think, oh, well, that's pretty crummy. But look, they've planted vines and shrubs and trees, and it's really a nice place. And finally, in the South Riverfront district in Portland, I think we talked about that early in the term, this whole neighborhood got LEED neighborhood development. I think it's LEED Gold, LEED ND certification. So the whole neighborhood is LEED. There are green roofs on the buildings with everything from little short plants to trees to vegetable gardens. There are plants all along the places to walk, and there are lots of places to walk. This is along an apartment building here, but pretty darn nice. So biophilia, a connection with nature, is possible wherever you are.